Minimalists.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Minimalist Podcast, where we discuss what it means to live a meaningful life with less. My name is Joshua Fields Milburn.
And I'm Ryan Nicodemus, and together we are the Minimalists.
Today we're going to talk about how to start simplifying. We're going to talk about how to become a minimalist.
Are we starting all over?
Well, some people are, right? We're going to talk about some practical tips and rules for decluttering with today's guest. MJ Gordon is here. Thank you for joining us today, MJ.
Thank you both so much for having me.
It's our pleasure.
I was first introduced to you thanks to Jessica Lynn Williams. She is our talented social media manager. We call her Social Jess. And she said, hey, you got to check out this gal's videos on YouTube. So we'll put a link to your YouTube channel in the show notes if folks want to check it out. And, today I just wanted to give folks a refresher if they're looking at getting started. If they want to do some spring cleaning in the fall, now's the perfect time to do that. It's the end of the year, and folks are looking to declutter. Or maybe you have someone in your life and you're saying, hey, I've simplified a little bit, but the people in your life are looking for some ways to simplify. And so maybe you can send them this podcast episode and say, hey, here are some practical tips for simplifying your life. We have a caller-driven show, a listener-driven show, and our first question today is from Jay in Arlington, Texas.
Hey guys, this is Jay from Arlington, Texas. I'm moving to a new house soon, and my pack rat wife has caught the downsizing bug way more than me. I know this is a perfect opportunity to minimize, but for some reason, I just can't get excited about it, and I'm the one preaching minimalism. Any ideas?
Now, Ryan, this is the best time to deal with your stuff because, as you both know, you're forced to deal with your stuff when you're moving. You're confronting literally everything that you own. Now, I'm guessing Jay might find some things in his attic or basement or garage from the last time they moved, and it's still in boxes. Now, I can tell you the thing that Ryan did was a packing party. You want to talk real briefly about that? Because this is their opportunity to have their own sort of packing party.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my Oma, my grandmother, she's going through this right now, too. She's had to move places. So you're packing everything up. When you got all the boxes sitting in your new home, just unpack things as you need it. That's where I started with minimalism. Josh was telling me about how he spent months simplifying, and I didn't want to spend months simplifying. I needed like really fast results. So I'm like, dude, I'm just going to pack everything up, and then I'm going to unpack it as I need it, and that's really going to help me understand, the things that are adding value to my life. And it worked. It was a great experiment. Totally changed my whole perspective. We called it a packing party because, packing doesn't sound fun, but a packing party does sound fun. So Josh came over and we ordered some pizzas, and I drank some beers. Josh doesn't drink, but yeah, it was a fun time. We we were being goofy throughout the whole thing. But with Jay here, how ironic is it that like he's preaching minimalism
to his pack rat wife, he says, right?
And she's finally like, oh yeah, minimalism, and now he doesn't know what to do.
Now here's the thing, and maybe MJ, you can help out with this. He's having trouble getting excited, he says.
Yeah.
And so what would you tell Jay?
Well, I think that's understandable, first of all. You've got the stress of all the move, so I understand. But I think also getting excited at this moment isn't necessarily necessary. So, the extra stress is more than what you need at a time of move. And if you don't feel like it, maybe just think, what if, right? Like, just what if I could let this go? What if I can put some things aside? What are the things that I struggle with? And sort of allocate your things in that manner before you actually let it go.
Yeah.
And then once all the stress is down, then you can revisit what you feel. I think it's great that his wife is excited about it.
Yeah. She sees all this stuff and she's like, all right, let's do it. And he's like, uh-oh. Well, it's fun. The excitement thing, I know that I struggle with when I need to do work, whether it's writing, whether it's paying taxes, whether it's going to the gym. I mean, when I'm putting in, this drudgery, I sometimes rely on excitement to get me through it. And that's a problem, because I can't always get excited about all of these things.
True.
So for me, and what I would recommend to Jay is find out what is going to happen on the other side of this simplifying. So instead of looking at it and thinking like, oh, there's all this work to do, I don't know where to start. First off, just start small. I mean, start one little room at a time.
Yeah, but except they're packed up at this point.
Oh, they're already packed up. Okay, I didn't get that from her. So Yeah, so start small. Start small and unpacking room by room.
Right.
Or you could do what I did with the packing party, unpack things as you need it. That's what I'm trying to talk my grandmother into doing. I'm like, Oma, you have to, like, if you really, because she wants to hold on to every single thing, and she can't fit everything in her new home. And it was like kind of a hurry up, pack and move thing. So I know she needs to get rid of a ton of stuff. And I think she's going to take that approach. But find the benefits of what is going to be on the other side. So like I wrote down some things like, Jay, your wife is supporting you. Like, this is a great opportunity to help grow your relationship. Like, you can focus on that. You will have less stuff to clean. You're going to maybe make some extra cash if you're going to, sell some of those items that you want to get rid of. Think about the things that you donate. Like, that's going to add value to other people's lives. And there are many other benefits that you can focus on. But I know for me, when it comes to drudging through the drudgery, that is something that has to be done in order to get to that exciting point. So excitement doesn't necessarily come first. Would you guys agree with that?
Absolutely.
MJ, I think that I don't know about you, but for me, decluttering is fairly boring. And so I agree that it's often hard to get excited about it. Now, Ryan and I have done a few things to make it a bit more fun. You can inject some friendly competition. We have something called the 30-Day Minimalism game. We'll put a link to that in the show notes. We've had tens of thousands of people play this by adding just a little friendly competition. Yeah. The packing party is another way to make it more fun because you can invite some friends over and you can, as you're unpacking your stuff, you can realize like, oh, most of the things that I packed, that I brought to this new home, I thought they were bringing me value, but it was all imaginary value. I'm actually not unpacking most of the things that are just sitting there now in the living room. And then I have a choice. I have an opportunity to do something with that excess stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I think when it comes to new home, what's exciting about it is, the buyer's experience, right? I mean, we're talking about minimalism, but people like the idea of a new home for creating space. Not only do you have the opportunity to do all the things you mentioned, but creating space is that's the experience of walking into that home that you want to buy. This is where my bed goes. I love that this looks like a model home. So taking your items and setting them up in that way, and then feeling that experience gets you excited to say, hey, I don't need the rest of this. This is awesome the way that it is.
Yeah, totally. I would tell Jay too, the only other thing I would suggest is kind of on the other side of the coin of all this is really ask yourself, Jay, like, what are you afraid of? Like, what is it that is really stopping you from joining in with your wife with this, minimizing your stuff? I know for me, like the fear that I had, because the packing party, that was easy. The unpacking, that was exciting. Oh, I'm doing something different. When I had to deal with all the leftover stuff, that was so stressful.
The fear of letting go.
Yeah, it was the fear of letting go, but it was also just the work. It was like, I saw all these boxes. I'm like, crap, I got to do donate, sell, recycle. I got to have to organize it. And then when it comes time to sell stuff, like now I got to do all the work to sell all these things. And, I had to get clear on what I was scared of. So maybe identifying those obstacles, Jay, and working with your wife to kind of alleviate some of those fears. And you might not be able to alleviate every single one of them, but if you can identify what they are, that'll at least help you understand why you're feeling the way you're feeling.
I do want to talk more about fear in a moment. Jay, I'm going to send you a copy of our book, Everything That Remains. It's honestly my favorite thing that we've ever written. It's the 5-year journey that Ryan and I went on from being these suit and tie corporate guys in Dayton, Ohio, to becoming minimalists and eventually the minimalists. And part of that had to do with unpacking stuff, but also unpacking the fear that we had throughout the entire journey. So if you enjoy our podcast, I think you'll enjoy the audiobook version of Everything That Remains, or if you want the book or the ebook version, Podcast Sean will send you one of those as well. Ryan, what time is it?
You know what time it is. It is time for our lightning round where we answer questions from social media.
Indeed we do. We are at The Minimalists on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. MJ, what are your social media handles?
At Marin Jaden.
All right. We'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. Now, during the lightning round, MJ, what we try to do is we try to answer each question with a short, shareable, less than 140 character response. But not really. We ramble on a bit. And what happens is Podcast Sean, he tweezes out something beautiful. He puts it in the show notes so people at home can copy and share our pithy answers on social media if they'd like. And also Jessica puts everything over at minimalmaxims.com as well, so you can find all of our pithy minimal maxims in one place.
All right, our first question is from Steven. What is one unexpected result of your transition to a minimalist lifestyle? I love how he didn't ask like, what was the unexpected positive result or negative? Because it could be either here, right?
It sure could. MJ, now that you've embraced simple living, do you have any unexpected results, good or bad, or maybe both?
Yeah.
I just think it's the experience of less is truly more. I mean, I used to think when somebody is successful in business, why did they ever stop? And then I get to a place where I'm ready to stop. You know, there's great balance in my life. I have time for things I love. I have patience for the people I love. And it feels amazing. And I think that's something that can't be described in words. You just have to experience it.
You're experiencing enough in a way, whereas before it was never enough. And I think we never stop, or we very rarely stop to ask, what is enough? And especially in business, the sort of mantra of most business is infinite growth.
Yes.
We have to be up year over year, quarter over quarter, week over week, and grow, and forsake everything for the sake of growth, as opposed to saying, okay, what does enough actually look like? And then when that applies to all the other areas of our life, our homes, our relationships, our money, you know, whatever it might be, identifying what is enough for you. And by the way, that enough will probably change over time. When I first embraced minimalism, I was 28 years old, and I'm 38 now with a 6-year-old daughter, so my life looks different. And so what's enough for me and my family is a bit different from what was enough for my 28-year-old self. My pithy answer here is, and I'd like to unpack this as well, but it's minimalism is not unlike a horizon. Once you arrive, a new horizon appears. And I think that's the thing. We often think, like, I'm just going to do my packing party. I'm just going to do the 30-day minimalism game. I'm just going to implement the 90-90 rule.
I legitimately thought the packing party was going to solve all my problems. And all it did was help me see all my other problems.
Yeah.
And so I guess if I were to answer his question directly, the most sort of unexpected result was I still have problems.
Yeah.
However, they're better problems to have. And I think maybe that's the key to growth and contentment. We're never going to eliminate our problems. If you eliminate all your problems, your life's going to be really boring because you're not going to have any challenges in life. And so the idea is to have problems still, but to have better problems. So when you get to that horizon, there's still going to be the next horizon you're going to want to get to go to. And so simplifying my life, it wasn't like, well, here's the minimalist rule book. Here are the 150 items you should own in order to be happy. That would be easy, but that wouldn't be simple because it wouldn't be deliberate. And so for me, my life is a whole lot more deliberate right now. And I continue to question the things. I guess the other thing that was unexpected is it does get easier to question the things in your life. The more you ask the questions, like, does this add value to my life? You get clear on what is valuable, but you still get infected by marketing messages. I was reading the New Yorker magazine the other day, and I saw a Rolex ad on the back. Now, I have written an essay about how a Rolex won't buy you more time. Yet I see the Rolex, I'm like, wow, that's nice. I'm like, I wonder how much that cost. The thought in my mind is, I wonder how. I don't even wear a watch. What am I doing? Why am I even thinking of this?
It just shows you how good they are, man.
They are so good at getting us. Do you ever get infected by these messages?
Totally.
What are the things that you look at and you're like, I should get that?
Same. Watches.
Yeah.
Travel.
Uh-huh.
Cars.
Clothes on Instagram. For some reason, like that, I see it. I'm like, oh yeah, that shirt. I already have shirts.
Yeah. I've made that mistake too many times already where I see a shirt on someone. I'm like, oh, that's a great shirt. And then I put it on. I'm like, it looked good on that person. It does not look good on me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. There was this article once that I read. Not sure how true it is, but I read it and I took it to heart. It said, when you window shop, but you don't buy, it actually increases your happiness. It's when you do buy that you start dealing with decision fatigue, buyer's remorse, cost sunk cost bias.
The sunk cost fallacy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, I'm going to try this. I took an Amazon wish list. I piled it all in there. I still do this to this day. I go shopping on Amazon, pile it all in there. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to wait. 6 months later, delete, new stuff. And it's just so awesome. But you just overpass all of those negatives, you know?
I never even thought about that.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. It's funny because I always talk about getting a Tesla because being in LA, they're everywhere, and I really like those cars, zero emissions. I could go on and on. I had a dream not too long ago that I just did it. I went out and got a Tesla, took money out of my house fund to go, spend on this Tesla. And I was I wasn't miserable, but I wasn't happy. I was in my dream, I was driving it and it's driving itself. And I was like, this is cool, but I just gave up my house for this.
Yeah.
And it was, but to your point, it's the I like talking about getting a Tesla, I think, more than if I actually was to get a Tesla.
Yeah.
To your point, it's like you have these things to shoot for, and that, will keep your energy up or keep your attitude up. And then as soon as you get it and it doesn't give you the result that you anticipated, I could totally see where that would it would make you miserable. Whereas not getting it, you still have this anticipation, which there's something about us humans that love that anticipation, that build up.
We call it the hedonic treadmill of once you get the thing and then you become accustomed to the thing. I mean, we all see it now with the iPhone 11 is out, and it's well, my current iPhone works just fine until they inject the planned obsolescence into it, right, and force us to upgrade. But the whatever phone, it's I see that and I'm like, oh, maybe I should have that because there's 3 cameras on it or whatever it is. And I noticed that I look at that, and once I get the thing and you feel the burst of joy. If you bought the Tesla, you'd feel the burst of joy, and you probably enjoy driving it, but it still gets you from here to there the same way your 2004 Toyota Corolla does.
Which I only use maybe once a week.
Right. And so you asked a beautiful question. You said about giving, I have to give up my house for this. Maybe that's a question to posit with, if I'm going to bring this new thing into my life, what do I have to give up for it? Because you have to give up money, which is an important resource, but what are the other resources you're giving up? Your time, your attention, your freedom? I mean, if you're buying a Tesla, how many years do you have to work to pay for a Tesla? When we think about these things, and it may make sense to say, yes, this makes sense to me. I'm going to bring it into my life deliberately, but understanding what you're parting with will help you make a better decision.
There's something about working a job that you hate and then rewarding yourself by taking on more debt because you can afford so many debt payments that forces you to continue to work a job that you hate.
Yeah, I'm working a job to pay for the car to get me to the job to pay for the car.
Yeah.
And it becomes this weird sort of circular problem.
Yeah. It's this isn't my pithy answer, it had nothing to do with it, but something you said about the problems that we have in our lives. We humans are problem solvers. We do need these challenges. And one of the benefits I think minimalism does is you get to choose more problems. Now, sometimes and often we have problems that we can't control, but there are a lot of problems we have that we bring on ourselves. And living that deliberate life helps us choose our problems more deliberately, which is a good thing. My pithy answer is this: the benefits of minimalism are different and plentiful for everyone. I mean, there are so many unexpected benefits. The stuff I was talking to Jay about, just less time cleaning alone. I just had no idea. I was the less stuff I have, I don't have to spend as much time each week cleaning my things.
Let's talk about some of those benefits real quick. Yeah. For me, I mean, the first one was finances. I realized that I made really good money but spent way too much money, and so I made good money but I was still in debt, and so I didn't really have financial freedom. But then I started noticing a cascade of other benefits. The easier to clean your house is a beautiful one, but there were so many others. My relationships started to improve. The clothes that I wore, I actually enjoyed more because I got rid of the excess, or I got rid of the desire to impress other people with the clothes I wore, and I wear clothes that are comfortable for me and that I feel good in. MJ, what are some of the benefits you experienced from simplifying your life?
I think the biggest benefit I got was lowering my baseline of expectancy. Because let me tell you, when I had a Tempur-Pedic mattress, I couldn't sleep anywhere except at home or else I'd get a backache. Now that I sleep on the floor, which was an accident, by the way, but we sleep on the floor, I can sleep anywhere. Air
Now,
mattress.
how'd you get your husband on board with this, or was it his idea to sleep on the floor?
You know, honestly, he's probably more minimal practical than I am. He's very, stoic by nature. So
he's from Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah, he's just on board with anything, right? Dayton, Ohio people are just, super fun like that. So.
Yeah.
But that was the biggest thing. It seems really weird, but we lose our resilience to stress when we pander to our comforts all the time. And I never thought, I
That
always
is
thought,
pithy, Sean.
So the words out of my mouth. That's
Thank
brilliant.
you. Well, I win. So
Yes, you do.
Well, what are other things that are similar to that, where you have lowered your threshold for comfort, but you've improved your life as a result? Ryan and I will often say that the place from which you grow is actually the discomfort zone. When you make yourself a little uncomfortable. What are other areas where you've made yourself uncomfortable?
Most common one is the gym every single day, right? We can all relate to that. But I do things like I have a weighted blanket that someone gifted me, and it's so soft. And it's something that I want to wear or use every single night.
Yeah, my daughter has one.
Oh, do you? Yeah. It's so awesome. But if I sleep with that, just like sleeping on the Tempur-Pedic bed, then I can't sleep with a sheet or anything else. So I only use it when I'm sick or when I need extra comfort or I'm having a hard time sleeping. And it makes that blanket extra amazing.
Oh, it's like a reward instead of an everyday occurrence.
Yeah. So I try it with everything now, cold showers. And so every time I'm like, just a little warmer, no, colder, a little warmer, no, colder. I'll save it for later. I just play this game with myself. But every time you get that jacket on or you put that shower up just a little warm, it's just amazing. Like it's the icing on the cake. And they're just simple things.
Yeah, I think our comforts are killing us. I mean, they really are. If we infinitely nerf our world and we're all wrapped in bubble wrap all the time, it may seem comfortable, but it's a type of prison. It's a type of tyranny in a way, because we then expect everything to be comfortable, and as soon as some twinge of discomfort enters our life, we panic because we don't know how to deal with it. Our bodies do this. Like when we do hot and cold therapy, like if you do saunas and cold plunges and that type of thing, you have a hermetic response to that, and same with some vegetables that we eat. If you eat, it's almost like you eat a certain toxin even, and it's inoculating yourself. What it's really doing is it's producing a stress response within your body. Now, too much of that is obviously a bad thing, but just enough of it, just enough discomfort, makes you a stronger person and makes you able to deal with just about anything a lot better than if your life is infinitely comfortable.
Well, then all of a sudden, if you're hiking, let's say in Greece, because you're saved up and want to travel, you're not seeing. I mean, I don't notice that I have a blister on my foot or that I'm a little bit cold, and I'm busy enjoying because those discomforts don't hold me back. Whereas, say my travel partner who is not used to this kind of approach is complaining about how hot it is and how their feet hurt. And, so those are some of the benefits too, not that we're here to, decrease our own experience of life, but
we don't want to deprive ourselves,
right?
And it's like I think what we're talking about is just this balance between being deprivation and being completely comfortable. And there is a healthy balance. I think one of the best pieces of advice I got when I was in the corporate world is I was like complaining about how stressful my job was, and the guy I was complaining to, he was like, dude, there are some stresses. Like there's a healthy amount of stress in life that you do want to have. Now, I would argue that he just wasn't hearing what I was talking about with my old job. But what he said really resonated with me. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Because what happened to me, I got to a point where it was so stressful that I wanted to alleviate all the stress. And if I could flip a switch and just be 100% comfortable, that's what I would have done. And I mean, I guess it's kind of what we do, go from one extreme to the other sometimes. But yeah, recognizing that there is a healthy amount of stress and finding a way to put that into our lives, like it's super important.
I read a quote recently that said, success is 1/2 stress, 1/2 rest. and that's what you're talking about with the balance, right? Like you do need those moments of stress, the discomfort, really, but then you also do need the moments of rest or comfort. If you have all stress all the time, you're going to be wildly stressed out. If you're comfortable all the time, you're not going to grow. You're not going to feel successful. You're going to feel like you're not doing anything with your life. And so you definitely need both.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Carmen writes in, I want to simplify so badly. I visualize it so much I can almost touch it, but then I get paralyzed. Really, I cannot act on anything. What's my problem? Decision fatigue, fear, something else? How do I break this cycle?
Well, so we wanted to talk about fear. We wanted to touch on fear. I think many of our fears are wildly irrational, right? I think about the fear of letting go Ryan was talking about. And when we start to articulate some of these fears out loud, we realize how silly our fears are. I know for me, when I actually, early on when we started the Minimalists.com, I did an experiment where I got rid of my favorite shirt and my favorite pair of pants and my favorite shoes because some reporter asked me, like, what are 3 things you can't live without? What are your favorite things? And I'm like, well, I can live without pretty much anything, but here are my favorite things. And I started questioning, like, well, wait a minute, why are these my favorite things? And why would I be afraid to let go of them? And the excuses I put in my head were like, well, people like me more if I wear this T-shirt. But when I say that out loud, it sounds like, oh, of course that's not true. Or if it is true, I'm hanging out with the wrong people.
Right.
And so my short answer has to do with fear here, and that is, well, I have 2 for you. The first one is, you will experience exponential growth if you fill your to-do list with your trepidations. And I think that's the thing. If you are afraid of something, it probably needs to be tackled head on. If you want to be able to deal with it, if sleeping on the floor, you're afraid of that, put it on your to-do list.
Yeah.
because then you can at least tackle it, and you may decide, well, that's not for me. I'm going to go back to having a bed, but I'm no longer afraid of doing it once I've done it. My other short answer here is, letting go begins with loosening your grip. So if I'm talking to Carmen here, right now, she has a tight hold on everything, right? I want to simplify so badly. And so even the wanting to simplify, she has a tight hold on.
Yeah.
I visualize it so much I can almost touch it. Tight hold on that even. And so having a tight hold on everything, you don't have to let go right away. You just have to loosen your grip on those things. Because if everything is precious, then nothing is precious. And you have some things in your life you know you can let go of. And we have some tips and tricks. You can find our website. I'd love to put a link to the 30-30 rule, the 90-90 rule, and the 20-20 rule in the show notes. Those are 3 things that I think will help you out. I'll just go over the 20-20 rule real quick. We also call it the just-in-case rule. And so, MJ, what Ryan and I found early on is we were holding on to a lot of things, just in case. I'll just hold on to this one just in case I need it someday in some hypothetical future. And I was holding on to literally thousands of items just in case I might need it someday. And what I realized is that I could get rid of these things because I'm not actually using any of the just-in-case items. And the rule we came up with, the reason we call it 20-20 is anything that you get rid of just in case, you can replace for less than $20 in less than 20 minutes from wherever you are. Now, that sounds like a really expensive rule if you had to use it every single day. I don't want to spend $20 a day. But Ryan and I have been doing this for a decade now, and between the 2 of us, we've had to use it 5 times. I can count literally on one hand how many times I've had to replace the just-in-case items. So it's cost us $100 to use this rule. And over the course of a decade, I've been able to let go of thousands of items as a result. So
way less than a storage unit costs.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Can you imagine a storage unit full of just-in-case items? That's my nightmare.
Yeah.
MJ, are there things that you held on to just in case? Or maybe do you have any rules that have helped you or would help Carmen simplify and let go?
I had that storage unit. I did. Yeah. It was my husband who was like, I wonder how much you've paid for this over the length of time and if it was worth the cost of all the items, and it wasn't. And that was my first probably real awareness of the minimalism philosophy. But to answer your question, I ran into this idea from the Essentialism book, The Essentialist. And what he was saying was, the thing that stuck with me is if I don't have this item right now, would I be willing to pay for it again? Or what would it cost me to buy it again right now?
Right.
That changed my life, that one.
I love it.
Really good.
That's good.
Ryan, you got something pithy for us?
Yeah, the pithy answer is this: a plan is useless without action. So, Carmen, you got to start somewhere. I agree with Josh. Like, I think I would start with the rules. And some of these rules, like, you might look at, like, I know an artist, they always push back on the 90-90 rule. They're like, well, there are some things I know I'm going to use, probably not going to use them in the next 90 days, but I know that there is a project. Okay, great. If you don't have a rule, though, then you're going to hang on to everything. So maybe it's the 365 rule. So, Carmen, look at the rules that Josh and I have for ourselves and see if those fit. And if they don't, then make some adjustments that fit for your life. That'll help you at least get a baseline on where to start. But again, you can come up with all the rules and all the plans and all the thoughts. If you don't take that first step, then that plan is useless. So, Carmen, start small. You said something, Josh, about her holding on to that grip of, I just want to minimalize now. I know exactly what I want to do. That grip can be petrifying because she's looking at everything all at once. Mm-hmm. She's seeing the end result of what she wants and all of this work that takes to get there, and that can be very paralyzing.
Yeah, pick a closer horizon.
Yeah, exactly. So instead of looking at, I want this perfect house perfectly organized, look at your bedroom closet and start with that and be like, okay, how can I make this bedroom closet perfectly organized? Just take little steps, and every little step you take, it will add up to be something huge.
On the Maximal today, we're going to talk about 5 ways to overcome decision fatigue and boost willpower. Number 3 on that list, I just want to read it real quick. This is from our friend James Clear, because I think this really applies to Carmen. Number 3 is stop making decisions, start making commitments. And he says, I think advice like, you just need to decide to do it, gets dished around way too much. Yes, of course, you need to decide to do things that are important to you. But more than that, you need to schedule them into your life. And so that's the thing you were talking about, Ryan. Having the plan, yeah, that's important. But if you're not willing to actually do something with that plan, then it's a useless plan, right? Yeah. We all have things that we say are important to us. I really want to scale my business. I really want to lose 40 pounds. I really want to get started on XYZ. Or in Carmen's case, I want to simplify so badly. Unfortunately, most of us hope that we'll have the willpower and motivation to make the right decisions each day. Rather than hoping that I'll make the right choice each day, I found much more success by scheduling the things that are important to me. And he goes on to explain his own schedule. We'll talk about that more on the Maximal. But Carmen, the thing that you can do right now is you can schedule simplifying into your life. Yeah. What if you were to schedule Monday, Wednesday, Friday, an hour a day for each of those days, and just during that time, it's the only time I'm going to simplify, but I'm going to get these things out of my house. I'm going to use some of the rules we'll put in the show notes, whether it's the 1 in, 10 out rule, whether it is the just for win rule, or the 30-day minimalism game, whatever you want to do, but you're going to spend some time. It's going to be on your calendar, and you're going to take that time every week to simplify your life. It's called chunking. It's just taking these little chunks at a time, not worrying about the ultimate end result, but having it on your calendar right now. All right, before we dive into our added value segment and our listener tips and tricks today, it looks like we got a bunch more surprise questions this week, including, what does a minimalist's shopping list look like? Ryan, get your shopping list out. When starting out, should you focus on external items or internal issues? How do I let go of all the books, magazines, and catalogs I hold on to? I'm going to talk about that because that was something I struggled with. I had a huge hoard of catalogs and really magazines, but also, man, I had like 2,000 books. We're going to talk about that. What if one person in the relationship wants to minimize and the other person doesn't? What are the differences between minimalism and the KonMari method? Also, we're going to talk about MJ's decluttering checklist. She has a whole checklist to help you declutter, and much, much more with MJ Gordon. And if you want to hear all that, you can listen to this week's Maximal episode, available exclusively on Patreon. That's right, you're currently listening to our weekly Minimal episode, but each week Ryan and I record an entirely different, much, much, much longer Maximal episode. I think we answer like 3 or 4 times the questions on the Maximal episode. It's over on the Minimalists private podcast. That private podcast gives us the private space we need to talk about topics we don't usually discuss in public. Plus, Patreon is the best way for us to fund this podcast, keep it 100% advertisement free. When you subscribe to the Minimalists private podcast on Patreon, you'll receive a personal link so that our Maximal episodes play in your favorite podcast app. You can find all the details and all the good stuff, including an additional private podcast episode every week over at theminimalists.com/support. Ryan, what else you got for us this week?
It's time, Josh, for your favorite part and my favorite part. Voicemail, comments, and tips from our listeners. Check them out.
Hi, my name is Becca. I'm from Columbus, Ohio. I'm calling with a tip for Tracy, who commented in the episode about organization that her pantry was getting out of hand again. And this is a problem I have had also. I've gotten it down to a system. I discovered that part of the reason my pantry was getting out of hand is because I like adventures in food. So now I have my pantry organized by type. For me, that means I have a shelf for beans, for greens, for grains, another shelf for nuts, everything by type. But then I have a special area in my pantry for adventures. Like I like to bake, so I have a lot of flours, and there's a whole section just for different and interesting gluten-free flours like mesquite flour and coconut flour. And then when that section gets full, I know I put myself on a little bit of a ban. So one time, my chocolate shelf got really full, so I was on a chocolate buying ban until I used up my chocolate. I've also had a tea buying ban, just to help me really focus on enjoying those items that I have acquired and purchased. So I hope that is a helpful tip for you, just to help keep yourself in check with new and interesting foods. Thanks.
Hello, this is Lynn from South Africa. I've got a tip for those people that are looking through perhaps nostalgic paperwork. I'm looking through my daughter's baby boxes now and seeing what to keep and what to toss. A good idea would actually just to listen to the podcast while you're sorting through. It can be quite a emotional time, and you get wrapped up maybe in your old thoughts and memories. And then just to kind of bring clarification again, it's quite nice to be listening to the podcast and saying, and reminding yourself why you're doing this. So that's my suggestion.
All right, y'all. Thanks again to MJ Gordon for joining us today. You can check her out at mj-gordon.com. We'll also put a link to her YouTube channel in the show notes. Real quick, for right here, right now, here's one thing that's going on in the life of the Minimalists. Head on over to theminimalists.com/wallpapers. I was just on the phone with Dave yesterday, Ryan. Dave is our talented designer. He's done all of our book covers and actually designed our website. Well, I designed our website. He redesigned it. And the only thing I've ever designed is our logo in my life. It's my one accomplishment. And so I've set aside the masterpiece and I've walked on.
You're talking about the Minimalists.
Yeah. And but Dave has designed pretty much everything else that we've done, including any posters like tour posters or book covers, movie cover, etc. He's designed it all. Well, we're working on a whole series of wallpapers to help you declutter your phone. We already have a few of them out there right now. There's 3 or 4 of them. We have the Love People Use Things wallpaper. We've got the Less Is Now wallpaper. You have Ryan's and my favorite, the minus sign, the subtract sign, the minimalism sign, we call it. And so I think that's the one that Ryan and I both use, is the subtract sign. But then we also have the 5 questions to ask before buying. So I have this one on my phone currently. I don't know if you've downloaded it yet, Ryan, but anytime I pull out my phone, it's right here. These 5 questions I should ask myself before buying. So if I'm standing at the checkout line at Target or something and I'm like, okay, can I afford to part with this money? Can I pay the actual cost? Will it add value to my life? What are the alternatives? Can I get by without it for a while? Like I'm forced to ask myself these questions, and you can download these for free. We want to help you declutter your smartphone. Head on over to theminimalists.com/wallpapers. We're also working on some other ones. Scrolling is the new smoking. That should be up there relatively soon. I think that's perfect for the smartphone.
Ooh, we should do like a no scrolling sign.
Oh,
I don't know how you do that.
what a scroll. They're probably like a hand. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anything with a Ghostbuster symbol over it, like yeah.
The Ghostbuster symbol. That actually has a name. I'm blanking on the name of it right now. Anyway, theminimalists.com/wallpapers. You can get all the free wallpapers we have. Oh, we're also working on one. You can't change the people around you, but you can change the people around you. So I think we're going to have 7 or 8 of them total up there. Oh, plus, it's not just for your phone. It's for your desktop as well. So you can declutter your desktop with any of our beautiful wallpapers. And any of these you can also print out as well. So when you download it, you have the option to also download the 8.5 by 11. So I find the 5-question one, we've had a lot of people already print that out and put it like by their desk as they're preparing to hop on to Amazon and waste their money. There's 5 questions for you to ask. So theminimalists.com/wallpapers, you can find all the free wallpapers there, and it will continue to grow. So you can continue to check back. If you have a question, comment, or minimalism tip for our podcast, leave us a voicemail, 406-219-7839, or send a voice memo to podcast@theminimalists.com. You can comment on this episode at youtube.com/theminimalists. If you want our show notes in your inbox, sign up for our email list. Just head on over to theminimalists.com. Enter your email address at the top there. We'll never send you any spam, never send you any junk. But you'll also receive our Simple Sunday emails. Anytime we write something new, any new essays that go up on the website, you'll get those right there in your inbox. For our added value this week, let's listen to a new song from Caitlin Tarver. I just stumbled across this gal, and her music is amazing. But this song in particular, it's called Cynical. It's a brand new song. And
it's just a single.
It is a single.
Dude, it must be good if you are recommending a single.
I don't like singles.
Oh, yeah, me either.
It made me dive into her back catalog because I heard the song and I was blown away because it perfectly captured the sort of discomfort, the dis-ease we have with scrolling through all the pictures on Instagram and feeling inadequate and then becoming cynical as a result.
Yeah.
So let's finish this episode with Caitlin Tarver's song Cynical. And if you leave here today with just one message, we hope it's this: love people and use things, because the opposite never works. Thanks for listening, y'all.
We'll see you next time.
The Minimalists.